Today we'll talk about the Justice Sector Coordinating Council and the justice zones that they aim to establish. Good morning, I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and this is At the Forefront. The Justice Sector Coordinating Council is a joint forum composed of the Supreme Court, the Department of Justice, and the Interior Department. Through the JSCC, these agencies coordinate and share information for coming up with initiatives in the justice sector and hasten the delivery of justice. The JSCC is set to launch the Tri-City Justice Zones in Tacloban, Ormoc, and Calbayog. But this has been postponed due to inclement weather in the region. Today, we'll have a discussion on this and learn more about the JSCC and the Justice Zones. Let's welcome to the program Supreme Court Associate Justice Maria Filomena Singh. Good morning, Justice Monet.
Good morning, Karen, and good morning to all your viewers.
Justice Monet, let's start with talking about this JSCC. So, has this influenced the justice sector, meaning has this contributed to the administration of justice in the Philippines?
Actually, we just completed a survey, an assessment. This was funded by the European Union Governance in Justice Program 2. And based on the survey, the respondents, an overwhelming majority of the respondents found that the existence of justice zones, which is the platform program of the JSCC, has significantly improved the delivery of justice services in the country, at least in the areas where we have established justice zones.
Mm-hmm. And in what year po nagsimula magkaroon ng mga justice zones or even the JSCC itself?
Okay. Well, you must have heard about the JELAC, or the Judiciary Executive Legislative Advisory Council. That is the origin, no? So that was back in 2010. The Chief Justice was Chief Justice Renato Puno. And he felt frustrated that they had a lot of good recommendations through the JELAC, but nothing was being taken up and implemented. And so he, together with the Secretary of Justice and the Secretary of the Interior and Local Government, at the time, agreed among themselves that perhaps they did not need to remain just as an advisory council, but that they could do things on their own, considering that all the 5 pillars of the criminal justice system belong to these 3 agencies. And so they signed a memorandum of agreement in 2010, and that's how the JSCC, or the Justice Sector Coordinating Council, was constituted. Now, the challenge came, how do we implement this proposals or these great ideas that we have? And so in 2014, that was 4 years later, there was already a new Chief Justice at the time. That was when the idea of having a showcase program be conducted. And that's when we developed the idea or the concept of the justice zone. So what is a justice zone? It is a zone where the delivery of justice services is not traditional. So immediately you come off from a point where you're not starting from the basic, but from a different point, where you're telling the people, this time you'll experience something different, because we know how the public views the snail-paced litigation in our courts. But not just that. The public is so tired of the blame passing. Mm-hmm. If you go to the fiscal's office, they will tell you, do not complain to us. Go to the police. It's the fault of the police. They lost the evidence. If they go to the police will say, that's not our fault. Go to the court. It's the court that's not setting the hearing. So, so on and so on. The public just, has gotten so tired of it. And so the trust rating is so low when it comes to the justice sector.
And Justice Monet, the public trust is a crucial component as well of judicial integrity. So how are courts right now balancing the delays in the justice system with fairness and due process?
Thank you for asking that, Karen. No? When the Chief Justice Alexander Gesmundo, first took his oath as Chief Justice, the 27th Chief Justice of the land, this was one of his first questions to us, no? what do you think is the biggest problem of the judiciary? And a lot of the people answered, it's, it's case delay, it's docket congestion. But I said, it's the low public trust. I said, everything hinges on that. And why is there low public trust? It's not really because of corruption in general, but it's more the lack of understanding of what we're doing. Because traditionally, courts are supposed to remain, so separated from everybody else, like an ivory tower setting. Judges and justices are not supposed to mingle with, with the public, especially the litigants. But that's something that has put up a wall around the operations of the court to the point that the public do not understand what the processes are.
Yeah, so lack of transparency is an issue, right?
Yes, that's a big issue. And number two, it's so technical. Law is so technical that you cannot expect the average Juan de la Cruz to understand our procedures and our systems. And so this is the reason why there is such low public trust rating. They do not understand what's happening. When somebody does not understand something, the general intuition is to fear it and to suspect the worst.
Yes,
and that's the reason for the low public trust rating.
So what are you doing differently? When you say that the specialty justice zones would be non-traditional, it can make the process faster. Can you give us an idea how this is achieved? And bakit nyo po napili ang Calbayog, Tacloban at Ormoc for this Tri-City Specialty Justice Zone?
Okay, first, the idea of justice zones in general before the specialty justice zones is to make the delivery of justice services more transparent and real-time. That's our catchphrase, no? Real-time justice. Not when we can deliver it, but when the people need it. For example, Karen, you're very aware, when we issue a warrant of arrest, okay, even if I say in open court, I issue a warrant of arrest against X right now, that warrant will take how many weeks before it is distributed to the points of exit in the country, giving the accused a chance, many chances and opportunities to flee. But with the justice zones, upon the issuance of the warrant, through our coordination with the other agencies and through our shared information system, just with one click of a button, that warrant is
So pag-issue ng court sa justice zone, pag may court sa justice zone na nag-issue ng warrant of arrest, it will appear in the database of the DOJ.
Yes.
And the DILG also. Kaya yung mga police kaya agad i-enforce yung warrant.
That has actually been happening for a couple of years already with our e-warrant system together with the PNP. So
Baka para maraming hindi nakakaalam nito, Justice Monet.
Yes. So in fact, before, one of the major causes of delay in the trials of criminal cases is that the witnesses from the police fail to come to court routinely, no? And that's not entirely their fault. They received the notices late, or sometimes they have been transferred to different assignments. But we executed a memorandum of agreement with the PNP, and we established the e-subpoena system also, such that we send all courts nationwide send their subpoena to just that link, to just that email address, and that is already deemed received under the memorandum of agreement. And the PNP undertook to be the one to serve it to their officers wherever they are stationed across the country. You know, when we implemented that, the attendance rate in our trials was 97%.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Really big improvement.
Yes, so much improvement.
Yes. Justice Monet, bakit po meron tayo ngayong specialty justice zones?
Okay.
How is that different from just a regular justice zone?
Okay. So the regular justice zone operates on a general jurisdiction basis. So we do not have targeted programs. So all programs that have to do with speeding up or making the justice services more efficient are welcome. But in specialty justice zones, we came up with this concept because in certain areas in the country, there is a special need to address a particular legal issue. For example, the OSAIC justice zones.
And OSAIC means online sexual abuse and exploitation of children.
Yes. That has become a very serious concern for the country, that no less than the president has spoken about it several times. And based on statistics, Region 10 and Region 8 are the hotspots in the country. And that is why we chose Region 10 first for the first Tri-City Justice Zone in Cagayan de Oro, Osamis, and Iligan. And now we're set to launch the second Tri-City in the Visayas, in Leyte. And the reason, as I mentioned, is because of the high incidence of OSAEC. And not just OSAEC, but actually the use of sexual abuse and exploitation materials involving children. And this is very disturbing, Karen, because the stories that we hear and that we read about involve a lot of family members exploiting the minors. And so this has become really a matter of grave concern for us. And that is why we chose to establish the Tri-City OSAEC in Regions 10 and soon in Region 8.
When you say Tri-City, what makes this arrangement different? Will the courts be able to share the cases among themselves so that there's no clogging of courts? There's going to be an issue also of jurisdiction where an offense happens and where you can file it. Ano po yung kakaiba sa Tri-City arrangement?
That's correct. Ang kakaiba sa Tri-City is that now, although they cannot share the cases because as you mentioned, we have that rule on territorial jurisdiction, right? But they can share everything else, like resources, even the capacity building that we do it not just in the city, intercity, but we can do it intracity also. So everything is more efficient because they can share experiences as well. They have a network of support people in the 3 cities in that region. And this has proven to us to be a benchmark that's worth emulating, because with that kind of cooperation, we have seen that the processing of cases has sped up. In fact, this is bolstered by the EU assessment report that I mentioned to you. A lot of people have seen, the statistics is 86% have said that the processing of cases have sped up.
Justice Monet, theoretically, can there be a anti-corruption specialty justice zone? Or what other justice zones can be created for other purposes? But before you answer this question, we'll have to take a short break. At the Forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the Forefront. And we continue our conversation with Supreme Court Associate Justice Maria Filomena Singh. Justice Monet, when we're talking about specialty justice zones, pwede ba ito for other purposes? And for example, ngayon ang lahat ng dinedemand na accountability, karamihan ay on corruption. Can there be an anti-corruption specialty zone, justice zone? Yeah.
Well, theoretically, we can do anything actually. And what you referred to is not far from the horizon. Actually, I think it's the Senior Associate Justice, Justice Leonen, who made the announcement of the creation or the establishment or designation of special courts for the flood control projects. So that's something that's already in the works. We are just awaiting more facts to come to light, like how many cases will be filed, in what areas should we prioritize this before the court issues the necessary circulars on this matter. But one of the things that we are actually next thinking about is a specialty zone on access to justice. If I may relay, this was brought about by a letter from Cardinal Ambo David of Caloocan, because there was an incident that happened in his area, and he wrote to Senior Associate Justice Leonen about it, and it concerns access to justice, no? So a person who has been detained for several days, but whose detention was not, recorded in black and white, and so the family could not find him. And then, so no help at all to the family, not legal. So that's something that came to light, and so the suggestion or the idea is, can we create a probable justice zone for access to justice? And so that's something that we're thinking of right now.
Yeah. Well, Justice Monet, based on the results of studies that
Yes.
assess how effective these justice zones are, it really has reduced yung mga delays, and even the attendance of witnesses have been increased to about
Yeah.
97%. Paano nyo gawin na lang to sa buong Pilipinas so we can reform our justice system to be more responsive, to be faster, so that there's efficient delivery of justice?
Yes. Well, that's the goal, that the entire country will actually be a justice zone, no? So at present, under the Philippine Development Plan, the commitment is to establish one justice zone per quarter of a year, so that's 4 every year. But once the resources become more available to us, we can probably establish more than just 4 a year. And we have also in the pipeline the establishment of a province-wide justice zone. It will be a first. I will not reveal yet which province this is, because there are several applicants. And also a regional justice zone, because an entire region also has applied to become a justice zone.
So meron po mga nag-a-apply rin na region for
Yes.
those who have the initiative to do so.
Yes, as a
Pwede
matter of fact,
magkaroon.
we've had to curb their enthusiasm, because we keep telling them we have to muster the necessary logistics first.
In terms of the cost, does this increase the cost for the judiciary?
Well, actually, we have a convergence fund. This is one of the beautiful things that happened back in 2017, no, when the Supreme Court, the judiciary, was invited for the first time to become a part of the Philippine Development Plan. We were given a chapter on justice, and I was fortunate enough to be invited to write it. And through that, we were able to institutionalize the JSCC. That's where we introduced the JSCC, and that's where we brought in the justice zones, and we got regular funding for it. So now we have what we call the Convergence Fund for the activities of the JSCC.
Kaya pala mas
Yes.
effective na yung nakaka-implement
Yes.
na po kayo because you have the funding for it.
Yes.
Yeah, and the other purposes, can this be also used for speeding up the disposition of cases when it comes to business? That's one of the concerns of foreign investors. Sabi nila yung rule of law dito medyo mabagal.
Yes,
Can justice
definitely.
zones also help in terms of economic purposes?
Yes, definitely, Karen. In the present PDP, it's not just criminal justice, but also administrative and civil justice. I know that we routinely, fail in the ease of doing business survey of the World Bank on an annual basis, but we have tried through the amendment of our rules to speed up our civil litigation, to reduce the time it takes to resolve a simple contract case or a simple sum of money case. The normal would be some 3 years to 5 years.
Yeah.
But now we have reduced or compressed the timelines so that we can finish them within 6 months to up to a year, depending on the amounts involved.
Okay. Eco zones, baka magkaroon din po ba ng justice zones?
We actually already have a specialty justice zone, which is an ecotourism justice zone, and that's Tagaytay City.
Oh, wonderful.
And do you
Oh,
know that based on the assessment which GoJust or the EU did, now the processing of the release of PDLs is down to 1 to 2 days. It used to take 1 to 2 weeks, no? And the processing of cases has improved by more than 56%.
wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
I hope we
Yes.
get to see this in other eco zones as well.
Yes.
Justice, there's going to be also a national justice information system. Can you tell us more about this?
Okay. This is going to be groundbreaking, no? The NGIS, as we call it for short, will integrate and will be a platform for sharing information among all the justice sector actors, no? Of course, when we share information, there will be the usual legal limits. Like for us, there will be some limitation in regard to information about minors and confidential family cases involving women and children. So those limits established by law will of course be observed. But other than that, it will be groundbreaking in the sense that right now, there is a dearth of information when it comes to, for example, the status of PDL. So the one sector or one actor will have their information, but that information remains in that silo. It's not shared with the others. So we have a lot of cases in court where the accused could not be located, but this accused apparently are already detained in some jails in the country.
PDL means?
Yes, persons deprived of liberty,
Okay.
so our detainees.
Yeah.
So because the judges, the courts do not have the information that our jails have, because we're not sharing the information, there is a lot of delay and inefficiency. Those cases suffer a great, delay because we are not aware that the accused is sitting somewhere in one of our provinces.
So we're eventually going to have this national justice
Yes,
information
it's
system.
already, actually, a lot of the DOJ agencies are already on it. Their information are on it. The Bucor has a single carpeta system which is already on it. It's just the other agencies that need to link up.
Okay. And Justice Monet, since we've already talked about the justice zones and JSCC, we're going to take advantage of the fact that you granted us an interview. It's very rare for incumbent Supreme Court justices to be interviewed. So we want to get to know you on a more personal level. Okay. How did you end up in a legal career? Was there any turning point in your life that made you decide to become a lawyer? And did you foresee that you were going to be a Supreme Court justice?
Okay. Well, the answer is I ended up in law by force. My mother forced me into it. I was
lawyer
not,
din po ba siya?
Yes.
Kaya pala. I can relate.
But I was not thinking at all of going to law school. I was going to be a writer, a fiction writer. I was training under our national artist, Franz Arceliana, in UP. No, but my mother brought me to the Ateneo to take the entrance exam to law school without me knowing that that is where we were going.
Oh, wow.
And I passed the exam.
Kidnap talaga. Dinala ka na lang basta mag-exam.
Yes, and so I got in, and the rest, they say, is history. But did I ever think that I was going to be never?
Never?
No, not when I was in the trial courts. When I was a judge, I would always, say, wow. When I saw Supreme Court justices, when we spoke about the Supreme Court, when I went to the building, it was like, oh my God, this is like, unattainable. So never.
Yeah.
But when I got to the Court of Appeals, I was in my early 50s. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do in the Court of Appeals for 20 years?
And you were one of the few women, I can imagine.
In the Court of Appeals,
Yes.
when I was appointed, we were still outnumbered. But now, it's almost 50-50
Wow,
in the Court of
impressive.
Appeals.
Na
Yes.
mga justices
but
na
in the
male and
trial
women.
courts, Karen,
Yeah.
more women now.
Wow.
More women judges
That
than men.
times
And
have
I'm
really
very happy
changed.
about it. And in the law schools, the ratio is now 3:1.
Okay. Are there any past opinions or Supreme Court decisions that you penned that, in your opinion, best illustrate your judicial or legal philosophy?
I cannot think of any single one because each decision that I make, or even resolutions, the short ones, they reflect who I am and what I believe in. And I'm very scrupulous about that. So we look at each decision or resolution we come up with to ensure consistency in my stance in everything. And that I think will never change for as long as I sit on the court.
And Justice Monet, unfortunately, we're running out of time. So very quickly, if the Supreme Court could give one message to Filipinos about justice and the rule of law in the Philippines, a lot of people, as you said, are frustrated about this. What message would that be?
Okay. Thank you for giving me this chance. No? Sa ngalan po ng ating Chief Justice Alexander Gesmundo at ng buong Korte Suprema, ang mensahe ko po sa ating mga kababayan ay magtiwala po kayo. Ang ating Korte Suprema ay nagtatrabaho ng puspusan. Ginagawa po namin lahat ng aming makakaya para maunawaan nyo po kung ano po yung mga proseso natin, ano yung mga karapatan nyo, at paano nyo ito maproprotektahan at mapapalakas at mapapatibay sa pamamagitan ng ating mga husgado. Sa 23 years na po na ako ay nasa ating judiciary, wala po akong ginawa kundi subukang mapabuti ang estado ng ating pagbibigay ng hustisya sa ating taong bayan. Iyan po ang aming layunin, iyan po ang aming pang-araw-araw na gawain. Huwag po kayong mawalan ng pag-asa. Meron pong nakikinig sa inyo at mabuting sumususi sa lahat ng kasong dinadala nyo sa ating mga hukuman.
Thank you so much. Very well said po. Thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you, Karen.
Supreme Court Justice Maria Filomena Singh. The delivery of justice is a must for all Filipinos, no matter where they are. The establishment of justice zones is proof that the justice sector is bent on achieving this goal. We should provide all the support they need. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. Always stay at the forefront. I'm Atty. Karen Jimeno.